Hi, Carol. Thank you for calling.
Yep.
This must be so bewildering for you. We feel like we're doing all the talking here. Are there any questions you might have for us, Carol?
I guess to start with, what the
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of JKL Media, where we are talking Pluribus. We are talking the season finale. I am Jesse Jackson, and as you heard, we have Karen.
Hello.
And Lou.
Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Yes, and I cannot say, can you say the episode title in Spanish, Karen?
Yeah, hold on a second. La Chica o el Mundo.
Yeah. The girl of the world, right?
The girl or the world, correct.
The girl. Yeah.
Yeah. I watched this one and then I immediately sent you guys an email saying I'm depressed.
Yep.
So that's my quick thoughts. Karen, how about you? Some quick thoughts.
I said I'm unsettled. How about you, Lou?
I'm disappointed.
All right.
In Carol, not the episode.
Yeah. So let's talk the cold opening, because I think that is incredibly insightful. And I recognized some of this, and then I recognized others because I read a few people talking about it. The young girl that was jealous about not being in the joined.
Right.
Yeah.
Mayo.
Yeah. She decided, she obviously, because she wanted to be part of this, she gave them permission, and they finally worked on the magic potion that will convert her. And the whole segment is about them. Life is wonderful in the village. She's petting a goat. Everyone's laughing and joking around and cooking her favorite meal. And there's this lovely sense of community. And then she sniffs it. She goes through the routine of passing out. She wakes up with a smile on her face, and everything has changed. There is no community. She isn't their daughter anymore. She doesn't care about the baby goat. It just went from warm family to now you're one of us. Let's move forward. Let's start with you, Karen. Thoughts on that whole segment? Go anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, I was heartbroken when she joined. I wasn't sure what they were going to do to her at the beginning. I knew it would be some sort of ceremony. And then not too long into it, I figured out that she was going to be joined, that she was the girl at the table that said she wanted to be part of it.
Yeah.
And I was sad and also it did show us a lot that we didn't really get to see in person, quote unquote, about the joining, where they were putting on a show for her. It was a play. And just like the James Bond stuff in Las Vegas.
And let's put a lantern on that because I think that's going to come back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Later in the episode. Yeah, it definitely was a Chekhov's community.
Yeah.
So they were definitely putting on a show. They were keeping the animals there for her. They were making the food for her. They were doing all this stuff just for this one person. And then when they assimilated her, everything went. Every part of her was gone. And this is the part of the series that I wonder about more than anything, is how much of that humanity do they retain? And to me, it looked like almost zero. They just don't retain any part of humanity anymore. What is going on in their brains? Is there any part of that person left behind? It was really sad when she set the goat down and the goat is bleeding after her, asking her to come back. And it was just so sad. I I found that part it made me the most melancholy of almost the whole season of the show. It was just it put that kind of sadness inside me to see that she lost everything but doesn't know it, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's part of what made me so unsettled about this episode.
Luke?
Yeah, I think the show at its best shows us what we're supposed to be thinking as opposed to telling us. Like they've talked about the joining off and on throughout the series in an abstract fashion, but here we actually got to see it being carried out on an individual and somebody that we had met, and so we have a bit of a connection with her because Kusamiya seems like a nice young girl, and she's devoted to her family and she has strong family ties. But to see her joined, it's to see her lose her essential humanness, her individuality, perfectly illustrated through the goat, which she was that little goat that she was petting and holding and caressing. And then once she joined it, she just let the goat go free and she just walked away, even though the goat was crying for her attention. That more than anything drives home what's being lost when you join with the hive mind. And I thought that it was just really beautifully played out. And it's the strength of the series, and at times it's also the weakness of the series when it goes to this non-dialogue style of storytelling. Because in individual moments, I think like this prologue, if you want to call it for lack of a better word, it worked really well. However, sometimes during the course of the episode, the overarching story, they do these kind of non-dialogue sequences too. And I think this is one of the main reason that people are getting antsy with the show to pick up the pace, is because they're maybe leaning a little too heavy into it at times. But when it works, it's really effective. And I thought it was extremely effective in this prologue section.
Yeah, I was very impressed that they showed this so well that they're like, are you afraid? Are you excited? They weren't trying to sell her either. And the silence of the plane landing and the person standing so close to the plane because he's confident there's not going to be an error.
Yeah, and
And
they're not going to run them over.
yeah, and just over, and there's the singing, this whole community, and then cut.
Yeah,
And she wakes up smiling. So in her mind, she is happy. But yeah, there is that sense of community and family, and that village is just abandoned. And someone said this, I don't know if this is true, so I could Google it if I want to, but one of the things that these others are doing that is inadvertently cruel is in their simplicity of, we can't keep animals captive, we can't hurt anything. Like they said there are sheep that are bred to produce wool. And if they're not shaven on a regular basis, their wool will be so full they can't even walk. Right. So we have genetically made these, we've changed the wild. And yeah, we also saw that a couple episodes ago with the dog stays attached to they're still attached to their former owner, so we let them hang around. They don't find joy in pets and everything because there is this emotional connection. So yeah, I thought it was an absolutely brilliant beginning. And once again, they are using the best use of that little time clock because it shows this is a quote unquote flash forward that
Correct.
sewing.
To near the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Two tiny things. I saw somewhere in a review, someone said, what is the deal with Apple Plus, Apple TV using baby goats and everything?
Yes.
And then the actress who played Kasumatsu, sorry. What's her name? Cusimayu.
Yeah.
Her name is Dorinka Arrones. She is Peruvian, and this is her acting debut. She just graduated from NYU Tisch, the
Mm.
Tisch School of Acting. So,
Wow.
just a little side note.
Cool.
Yeah. I think it was Alan Sipwa who said, he said, now then, we had baby goats in Severance. He said, I don't want Pluribus to go crazy on cameos, but I would have just loved to see Christopher Walken
Yeah.
somehow work in this to say, and baby goats.
I
Mm.
wonder if that baby goat was making a cameo.
Yeah. All right. So we get back to Carol's hacienda, her casa, and they're watching him come on the ambulance. They have I assume, a drone traveling him. And this is the opposite of a meet cute. This is everything going wrong.
A meat hate.
Yes, she doesn't get him at all. He is so paranoid. He doesn't want to give up his machete. He wasn't going to her house. He steals her phone. So, Lou, let's start with you. Just, I think we'll end with, let's go till he comes inside. So we can talk
Okay.
about the umbrella and everything, just however you want.
Sure. As expected, they were like oil and vinegar, and I was not surprised how the meeting played out. It actually played out the way I thought it was going to play out because they're both two A-plus personalities, and they're both very pig-headed, I guess you could say, very fixed in their ways. So for the way that it played out, it pretty well was what I expected. It was very handy to have a phone that translates Spanish so quickly. I guess that's a thing, but it seemed pretty fast to me. But
It's got to be an
it's
app, right?
Yeah.
it must be a Rosetta Stone or something. I don't know, but it worked quite well. And I had to laugh when it kept translating when he threw it down the grate.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, so they do have these good sight gags, like with the droid earlier in the season getting wrapped around the light pole. That was pretty funny. So that was pretty funny too. So the show does have a sense of humor, which I do enjoy. But yeah, it's an interesting character study to see these two characters intersecting at this particular point in time in their journey with the others. We've seen Carol be much like Manousos was at the beginning, but then she's gone through a loneliness crisis and she's weakened to the point where she's living a bit of a fantasy. No, she is living a fantasy life with Zosia, which plays out further in the episode. But she's at a point where she has had a relationship now with Zosia, still hasn't, at this point with this meeting with Manousos, she still hasn't asked Zosia much about her background, at least not that we've been privy to. So I find that interesting. And she's become protective of the others because of her relationship with to Zosia. So she's, in a way, she's become compromised. And Manousos, he's made this long trek to get there. So naturally, he cannot help but be a little frustrated at her demeanor or her brusqueness about how to approach what they're going to do. And they're not on the same page anymore that they would have been if they had met maybe right off the bat, perhaps. So it's an interesting dynamic that I think this is the reason why they've included this character, I want to call him Diabetes, but I don't know what his name is. The guy that had the James Bond fantasy. She's more in that territory now than she was at the beginning of the series. So I thought it was really well played out, and I think the oil and vinegar aspect of these two characters was a very welcome change from all the let's all get along together, kumbaya hippie stuff that we've been watching all season long.
Karen?
Yeah, Mr. Diabate. I couldn't,
Yes.
I couldn't think of the name.
I just call him Diabetes.
Mr. Diabetes. I thought it was funny. Yeah, so that's what I was doing, looking that up. I agree 100% that This is, I think, where they decided to put all the humor here in this storyline, because if we didn't get that humor, it would have just been the irritation between the two characters. And
Mhm.
that wouldn't have made for a very good episode, because we do get to see that they're both the same, but yet he is completely different from her. And I think we saw some shades of his, I guess he's old-fashioned because he's not an atheist like Carol is. Carol, I assume she's an atheist. He believes that they have stolen everyone's soul. He doesn't understand anything about them yet. And so you could say he's almost, compared to all the others, he's primitive in that way. I do love that they've subverted that a little bit with him learning more English than I thought he would have, which is awesome. That means he's smart. Also, all the notes that he's taking, and that he's definitely inherently a scientist at heart, because scientists know to poke at things until they get a result. And that's his thing right now, is he's going to poke at everything until he gets a result. And I think that started with Carol. He was going to poke at Carol until he also was writing in his diary until he got something. And then he takes advantage of Carol at one point after they get in the house. But before they do that, they are definitely not on the same page anymore. And I think even just a couple of weeks earlier, they would have been more on the same page. I really do think that the her and her exclusion from everyone would have made for a better ear to hear him out. And I do think that all of her delusion comes from that time that she was in solitary confinement, that it made her a little crazy. And so she is glomming onto the others in order to have that kind of community. And she, from their initial meeting, she knows that she's not going to get that with Manousos. Yeah, it was really funny. I enjoyed the fact that the translator couldn't translate Carol Sturka.
Yeah, her name.
Right. I love that she was using like the pidgin Spanish. The, what did she say? She ended a bunch of words in O, like revolver O or whatever the word is that she was using. She did it like 3 or 4 times. And of course, the translator doesn't translate that correctly, which is funny. Just their whole back and forth before they go in the house is really funny, challenging, and Manousis doesn't know what to make of her until he gets that bead on her in the house.
Yeah, I really love their interaction and how neither one of them would compromise. And him making the decision, okay, I've gone this far. Okay, I've got to get her phone back. I wondered why he didn't just take the grate up. Of course, I guess a
Me
grate is
too.
pretty heavy,
Yeah.
but and then the whole, she has changed and he hasn't. So I do, and we suspected this, and not, it's not unique to everyone, to anyone, that Carol has changed. The 30 days of silence and the connection she's had, it, and he thinks of this as better dead than red, or this is, he flat says that if
Yep.
we can't restore their souls, they're better off dead because they're just ghouls. If we can't make someone no longer a werewolf, we're killing them. And so it's just a totally different from a frame of mind. So we find out that Helen had put in a tracking device
Mm.
when they were trying to get Carol's eggs, which is another Chekhov's eggs. They're bringing this up again to keep it front of mind. And they honestly sounded sad, like we didn't do this. We know this hurts you, but Helen did this. And then my wife, she didn't go trust my girl. And what I thought was very telling is when Carol calls her and says, I'll call you later. That is something you tell your spouse,
Yep.
your partner. And you can tell they have developed this relationship now. And then Carol feels betrayed because he calls her Sosha. Sosha comes, she talks to him, and Sosha says, but you don't understand, we love him as much as we love you. And that was the first strike against them. Karen, thoughts?
Yeah. First of all, again, we carry the humor in when he snaps at her and she says, I don't speak snap. I loved that line. And then when he doesn't understand her, she snaps and then goes, no, with her finger. So she's learning how to communicate with him in this really rudimentary way when he's trying also to, I think with him snapping at her, some of that was how he knew how to communicate with her, but also the fact that he needed the phone. So he was going to ask for the phone. I love that he walks over to her and he quiets down and he says, I need the phone, please. And very mocking. And then later she mocks him back and says, I'm sure they'd be happy with your sparkling personality. And they really do see that they're both, again, they're showing that they're both similar, but also very different. And I think some of that also was Manousos is probably a little bit of a misogynist from his background in Peru. They're very male centric there. But also, he knows that he needs her to get this done. And the phone call, wow, she needed to temper that because that was the way that he seized upon the fact that she has a weakness. And her weakness is Zosha. And once she leaves, he seizes on that to get an advantage. She's going to leave me here alone. I'm going to do my own research. And finding out about the or the sensor, oh my goodness, that was heartbreaking. And part of me went, I knew those eggs were coming back, but I wasn't sure what that meant at that part of the episode. But I thought, if they're bringing them up again, I think they mean something. And of course, we learned that later on. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, the two of them, man, I can't wait to see more of the two of them, Carol and Manousos.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic again between the two of them inside the house. As Karen said, I love the snap. I don't talk snap. I thought that was really funny. The idea for that the others would be spying on her doesn't seem to have occurred to Carol, though in the beginning of the season, I think that would have, but she's let her guard. I guess they're just trying to highlight that she's let her guard down, that she's not thinking of these things anymore. And then, of course, the irony is that, yeah, you were being spied on, but it was by another human. So that was like this is what we want to bring back. This is the bad side of people, even though it was done out of love. Obviously, Helen was worried about her drinking problem, but still, that's a type of behavior that the hive mind would not engage in. So it's very, very nebulous. Like they're not doing a black and white. The hive mind is bad, mankind is good. There's a vast chasm of gray area between the two, and you have it at times you wonder whose side you're on because of that. So I really appreciate that they're making it a complex dynamic between the two parties. It's interesting that Manousos says that they're not human, and Carol says that they still are human. But in their actions, I think that he was treating them more human than she was, because her reactions as Zosia was like a master to a slave, basically. She ran over hey, this is my property. You can't use her without my permission. If she was a person, if she was treating her as a person, then Zosia is free to talk to whoever she wants. And yet she got upset about that when Manousis started talking to her. And then, as Karen touched on, the whole concept of souls and whatnot, this is referencing that, whereas Carol doesn't seem to have that now. Whether she believes in souls or not, even before this, I don't know, because seems to be pretty agnostic, or even an atheist, I guess you could say. There's a very interesting dynamic. It's so you're watching it, they're saying these things to each other, yet when their actions are the opposite in a large degree. So I found that very interesting. And even when they started to go in, when Zosia started to go into her seizure, afterwards she mentioned that the Manousis had warned them ahead of time that he was going to do something that would cause that to happen. So he's treating them with more deference than Carol is, which is again another interesting contrast between the two of them. And it was also another funny bit when the woman mother called up again and said, blamed Carol for the seizures again. So she says, "It wasn't me
Yeah.
this time." So I thought that was another funny bit. So that was really
That's
quite
you
well done.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's setting up this very interesting dynamic, and Carol's Carol's not treating them like people, whereas Manousis is. I found that very interesting. At least that was my interpretation of it. I know somebody else might have a different vibe for it, but that's the vibe that I got. And then Carol leaves with Zosia and gives. I should also mention that Carol gives Manousis the neighbor's house, which he's not comfortable with initially, but because he doesn't believe that's stealing, like they stole that away from them. So he feels uncomfortable with that. So he has a very complex and interesting worldview about things that I hope that we will explore in the next season. Very interesting character. I think he's a great addition to the show, and it's a real great way for us to signpost Carol's arc through this series. And it'll be interesting to see where in my mind, she's regressed, which is why I was disappointed with this episode, because of not the episode, but with Carol, of her behavior in this episode. She turned out to be just as selfish as diabetes. So,
Yeah.
Diabetes. Yeah, Zosha is an analog for Helen at this point, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
And I also loved that she pointed out, so I guess that ambulance it was yours, right? You didn't steal that from anywhere.
right.
That was very funny also.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I gave him an IOU, and
Mhm.
Carol go, okay, here, IOU, whoever owned the house. So I was caught up into the storytelling. And so when Zoe says, something's about to happen,
Yeah.
and then afterwards, what we have to do. And Carol immediately knows. Now, I did think it was a little interesting. They gave Carol a lot of leeway. This time they knew, like they recognized the pattern, we've got to go. And I, being a romantic, was, hell yeah, Karen, go with your girl.
Carol,
Yeah, Carol, go with your girl. Let's go for it.
I
And
wasn't.
and we see they get what, 2 or 3 months, like a month maybe, we don't know.
2 weeks. It
Yeah,
was
two
2 weeks.
weeks. Okay, so they go skiing, they're at spas. I've never read the book that Carol's reading, but somebody said it's actually that
The
it
Left Hand of
has,
Darkness. Yes.
yeah, it
Yep.
is about a human being in another world
Yep.
that are gender fluid. I think I'm
Yeah.
overemphasizing it, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's good. Great
everything's,
book.
yeah, it's peachy. And she, in her mind, thinks this is real. Unlike diabetes guy, he knows this
Debate.
is a play, but he doesn't care. Carol buys it hook, line, and sinker. I am in another relationship. I've accepted that I'm an atheist, but I fell in love with someone who's devout in their Judaism. We're going to figure it out. We're going to work through it. And then Sosha slips and says, because she can't resist it, and it gets even better. What do you mean? And Carol works through it that you're still trying to convert me. You still want me to convert to Judaism. You want me to become this hive person, even though I've specifically said I don't want it. I've said you don't have my permission, but you guys are still working behind the scenes. And I don't think they'll force this on her, but
Mm,
it just is enough that
I do.
Carol, you think they will?
Yep. They
Hmm.
forced it on everyone else. All they said
Yeah.
is they won't take her stem cells.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's their
notice,
biological imperative, so they will.
Yep.
but the young girl had to say yes.
We don't know that. We know
Oh,
she wanted to.
but yeah, but notice they're asking. So my personal feeling is, but I also think that the same way that Manusa didn't necessarily want help and they helped them anyway, that they may feel that.
Yeah.
And
You notice
so,
they did not promise her not to turn her,
no,
just not to take her eggs.
yeah,
So they're definitely doing that lying via omission thing.
yeah. And the turning point to me is when Carol throws her heart out there, if you loved me, you wouldn't do this. And she says, it's because we love you. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
it's because I love you. We have to do
Right.
this. And
So manipulative.
that broke the illusion. And to me, Carol went, holy crap, I'm just playing the James Bond. I am no different.
Yeah.
And it's been a fun honeymoon, but it's back to reality. I went on a long way. Your turn, Karen.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I do think that Zosha recognizes that if she continues this I and the laughing and the joking around and the trying to emulate Helen is definitely going to get her further, getting further with honey than with what is the other one? Honey rather than salt
Vinegar,
or whatever.
vinegar.
Yeah, yeah.
Vinegar, thank you. Yeah, so she is definitely doing this on purpose. Not only did Carol ask her to, but I think she recognizes that she has now drawn Carol into this sense of complacency. And even though she can't lie, again, it's this whole thing of them not being completely honest with her. And when they do press on the others, they do have to come clean. And I love this when they show it in the beginning of the episode, they show a follow through at the end of the episode. In the beginning of the episode, Zosha's sitting on the couch with Manousos and has said, I couldn't help it. I had to tell him everything. And what did you tell her? Everything. What did you tell him? Everything. And so later on in the episode, they're living in this fantasy world until Carol presses him like Manousos presses her like Manousos did. And being specific, which she also mentions, he was insistent and also specific. And this is what Carol has to do to get the correct answers from Zosha. And I think, again, they're really showing this mirror image between the two characters of Manousos and Carol, where Carol didn't buy into it, but she recognized at that point she needed to do the full court press. And he had already not bought into it. And so he was doing that same thing. It was heartbreaking. I did not want her to go, but I realized she was going to. She can't do that whole isolation thing again. So that was her only option at that point. But I think she also wanted to. So it was sad that she felt like this was her only play here, was to leave what she would have just a few weeks ago done anything to have an ally in her quest to end all this. And she leaves with the entity that she hates, essentially. So yeah, it was super interesting, and I would again, I was pleased with myself that I read that theory about the eggs a few weeks ago, jumped on it. It was coming down Main Street the last couple of
Chekhov's eggs.
episodes. Huh?
Chekhov's
What?
eggs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chekhov's eggs, exactly. Yeah, so that was heartbreaking to watch her slowly realize that Zosha's not what she seems, and then to leave. Her determination at that point was back to beginning of the series, Carol, as
Hmm.
well.
And they look so sad at each other in the helicopter, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Loof.
I think what really strikes me about this section of the episode is there's often times when you read a story, whether it's fictional or you see something on news and you go, why did that person do that? That doesn't make any sense. And I think it's because we're looking at it from a logical, rational viewpoint. And people are not logical, rational beings because Carol, because of her loneliness experience, she's I guess you could say she's on an emotional rebound. So she's desperate for a connection and she's basically fallen in love with Sophia. And how could she not? She's the embodiment, both physically and mentally, of her ideal lover, and which would is
Exactly. I think
on
that's
her
really
book cover.
important,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's really important. And that just shows how, no matter how smart somebody is, the human part of us, which is it's that sort of Damocles. It's got that positive and negative edge. Is emotions make you do things that, from a rational point of view, don't make any sense, but we're still tied to them. And Carol is in this section of the episode is a perfect example of showing us why, and with the lead in from the other episodes of being abandoned and whatnot for a while, why she's making the decisions that she's making. So I understand it from the motivational and story aspects, but I'm just disappointed in the character because I thought she would be smarter than that. But then I just basically told myself why she's doing what she's doing. It's not because she's not smart, but it's because she's an emotional being. So we do things emotionally that don't make sense because she knows in the back of her head that they're trying to convert her. But she's creating this illusion of this relationship with Sophia that she hopes will somehow overcome this biological imperatives of the hive mind to make them have her join the hive mind. I think it's a really well done character or study of humanity in these scenes with Sophia and Carol. And I just thought it was really well done. And the look on her face, of Carol's face, when Sophia explains what they're doing. And like you mentioned earlier, Jesse, that Sophia said that they love Manousos just as much as they love Carol. The look of hurt on her face and just a beautiful piece of silent acting by Rhea. I just thought that she really did a fantastic job with that. So this was a really powerful section of the episode for me. And as I said, I'm disappointed in Carol, even though I understand from the story and that why she's acting the way she is. I was just hoping that she would be better than that and not go down this false illusion of creating a life for herself with Zosia. And it was also one of the more frustrating moments is when she asked Zosia if she had somebody before. And Zosia said she did, but she was very young. And I'm going, what happened? Tell
Yeah.
us what happened. Was it a man? Was it a woman? I'm in my mind, I'm going, given the part of the world that she was in, perhaps if it was a man that he was drafted or he was in the draft and he got killed during a terrorist attack or something like that. I don't know. I might be stereotyping because of the region of the world that she was in that. But I'm just trying to figure it out. And because what, like, if Carol would ask her, she doesn't ask Zosie if she's a lesbian. Like she just, as far as at least as far as we know, she just doesn't really care what her sexual orientation is. That's another aspect of her selfishness that I found disappointing. So the setup here is really going good for the next season because Carol has taken a step back in my mind, and her reason for wanting to save the human race is still a selfish one. It's not a altruistic one. It's not like she wasn't, at least she gave lip service to in the beginning of the series that she believes that what they're losing is more important than what they're gaining with the hive mind. And I think that's why they included that segment with Kosamiya to show us that this is what you're losing if you join the hive mind. So yeah, I just thought really well constructed episode, and I really like the episode, but I'm just really disappointed with Carol.
Yeah, I've had a lot of the same feelings that I was, I realized it was a fantasy. It, I cheer for Carol and I want her to be happy, not in a hive mind happiness.
Yep.
And you do realize it's the right choice. They said this and they remind her of what they are. And it breaks the illusion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the guy who was playing the evil poker player, right? Stay in
Yep.
character.
Yeah. With the patch and everything.
Yeah, and Carol's just, I have been lying to myself. And there is a sense of right at the end when she comes and there's that sadness looking between them. And she goes, "You win. We save the world." Not
Yeah.
happy.
No.
And then talk about leaving a mic drop, a bomb drop. What's that? Atomic bomb. Cut. But him going, what the hell? Lou, finish us up. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a hell of a bomb drop or mic drop, if you want to call it. And I think probably that's all it's really going to be is is just a punctuation point for the end of the season. I assume that they're going to get rid of it pretty quickly. I don't think Manousos is definitely going to stick around if she doesn't get rid of it. So it makes for a nice mic drop, as you said. But from a practical storytelling point of view, I'd hope that this doesn't stick around, and it's just more highlighting how intransigent Carol is. The only thing that she's been consistent about this season is her individuality, and I think they're just driving that point home with this bomb.
Talk about the ultimate and biggest Chekhov's gun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she says, I might take you up on that earlier in the season, in Grenade in the third episode. And she does actually follow through with that. I'll take you up on it. I love that they set that whole thing up. Now she knows they'll give her an atom bomb, and so she's going to take advantage of it. We also need to remember in those 2 weeks, Manousos has gotten much further in his studies. We don't know how because there aren't any others for him to test on, but he has definitely worked out a bit more of what they need to do.
Something to do with that one radio frequency that when they zone out, that's the frequency that for whatever reason shows up. So that's interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he has a little more information, and we did see that he was trying to talk to the second other that he called over as the individual person. He called him Rick or whatever. I don't remember what, but so in some way he knows that there's still someone in there. There's still people. I think she actually got him to see that. So I think that might be what turns things around, that Carol's ready. Okay, they're unsavable now. This is it. Let's get rid of them. And now I think Manousos is going to be able to say, no, wait, I've worked on this a little bit more. I think we can do something with it. And they may leave the bomb there sitting in the driveway, but she wants a backup plan. I don't think she's going to let him do anything with it. But I do think that he has gotten far enough that he wants to test things out and maybe get back his family. Because we do know that Some of his family is alive. He has friends still. He might not love his mother, but she is still alive. He he also wants to take back what was stolen, which is everyone's soul, right?
Yeah.
And I think that when Carol pointed out his hypocrisy of, I guess the ambulance is yours then, he realizes that maybe she's right about some of the things that I was wrong about, and that there's things we need to do. And so he's working on that. In the meantime, also in those 2 weeks is when the girl, whatever her name is in Peru
Kusamaya.
or whatever, yeah, that's when she was also turned. And I think that Zosha got really excited about that. And there's a part of her, and I do think that maybe she's changed a little bit, Lou, as you were wishing she wasn't part of the hive mind. I do think there's parts of her that are slightly different from some of the others
Who?
because
I'm
she
sorry,
does.
Kusamaya
No,
or
no, no,
Carol?
Zosha.
Oh, Zosha. Yes,
Yeah.
I do think she's changed a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that she does have some genuine
Okay.
emotions,
Yeah.
and I don't think she's separated, obviously,
No, obviously not.
but I do think that she was very excited to have Carol join them, and I think that she does have this fondness for her, love, but I don't know whether that love comes from her or the others, and she does definitely want to please Carol, figuratively and literally. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do think there's love there, but she doesn't know how to express it. And so I wonder what might happen if she is separated too. So there's a lot of things that
Yeah.
make me wonder there.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say, Jesse? I've got something I want to add. I don't, but if
No,
there's
go
something you
ahead.
want, it's interesting now, Kara, just listen to you talk about and talking about the radio thing. I'm wondering if this is going to play out in the long term, much like and take a drink, everyone, the episode from the original series of Star Trek called This Side of Paradise, where Kirk and the crew go to this planet where they expect all the settlers to be dead because of this radiation from the sun. But when they go there, they're all still alive. But it's because of these spores that they've all been infected with that makes them like a hive mind.
Immune, yeah.
But but it makes them immune, but they're more individualistic, but they're also lost all drive for growth and whatnot. And the solution is, it turns out to be that Spock rigs up to play a subsonic signal that nobody can hear, but it acts like itching powder, and it releases negative emotions, and that's what causes them to throw off the spores. So this radio signal angle, I'm wondering if the show is angling for something like that as a solution as well, because it's the only way that I could see for two people to be able to do something like this, to reverse this on a global scale like this. So that will be interesting to see play out. And I'm just going to put that marker down that I think that's what they're going for. The other thing that I'm looking forward to in the future with future seasons is the growth of Carol and Manousos as people, because they're both very flawed. But I think together over the journey of this story, I think they both will come out the other end as better people than when before the plague started.
I agree. I You're really onto something there, especially with the fact that with anger, there's also an effect
Yeah.
with the others. So I do think they might be leaning on that a little bit. That's a great call.
Yeah, I think there is something about that, right? That Carol is going to say that we have to be patient and find a way to reverse this. But I also think the atomic bomb is her bluff, and maybe it's not a bluff, is leave us alone.
They've also put a bit of a countdown because Carol asked them, so see how long would it take them for them to manufacture her
Mhm.
mind drugs? And they said 30 days,
Yeah, about a
hopefully. So
month.
it's
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
a
or
month. So
could
the
be
clock is
as
running.
yeah, it could be as much as 2 to 3, they said
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
right? And once again, real world, I think he has said that they think this can be a 3 to 4 season series. but there's a lot of places you can go
Yep.
and do. I wonder, we'll say that we're going to do a wrap up and we'll have our questions we have. I finished this episode going, darn, this is a good series. What great emotions. And this is a showplace for our star.
Yeah, absolutely.
She is
Mhm.
able to show so much and so much. And I wonder also, because we haven't talked about, they haven't addressed Carol's, did she have a drinking problem? But obviously her wife thought she did. Helen was very concerned about her drinking
Yeah.
with the breathalyzer. And I assume that was because Carol had gotten a DBI or sometime, but maybe it
Yeah.
was just she put that in place. Carol was a very flawed character, and we cheer for her. And I think to me, and I'd love y'all's feelings about this, the scene of showing the young girl turning pulled me where I am totally for free will and even all the messes we've had
Yep.
because we'd lose too much else. See, both of
Absolutely.
you are nodding. Any thoughts you guys
Yep.
want to
Absolutely.
share on that?
Yep.
Yeah. No,
And
it's
also,
just, I'm sorry. Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Karen. Go ahead.
Oh, also, I do think that maybe on the other side of this, and I'm guessing they're gonna get them out of this at some point. At the other side of this, there might be more of a unity, a more peaceful world.
Hmm.
I would love to see that at
Yeah,
least,
same here. Or it could be
right?
or it could be an angry world.
Could
Hmm.
be, who knows? But for me, it looks like they might have to do this like one at a time, at least
Hmm.
for the time being. But yeah, I can't wait to see where they go next,
Yeah.
honestly. And I do get the feeling that I'm definitely, I was always on board with individuality, definitely.
Yeah.
But now it feels urgent, a little more urgent, especially with that month-long deadline. Although for us, it's probably going to be a year and a half.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see, as Karen was alluding to there, about how people will, mankind in general react. I think we're going to get a microcosm of that next season where they try it on one or two people, and maybe we'll get different reactions from different people. Some people will be so happy, and others will be upset that they want to go back, and that will make the decision even more difficult. So it'll be interesting to see what they do if they just tackle it that way next season.
And so many logistical issues, right? How are they going to get them back? How are they going to separate them enough so that they don't suspect what's going on? There's a whole bunch of things that we're going to see happen next
Yeah.
season.
Yeah,
So I can't wait.
because if they try it on one person, the hive mind is going to know about
Everyone's going
it.
to know.
Yeah, so they're
Uh,
gonna tough spot.
what's going to separate them enough that the other hive mind doesn't? Maybe he has to tune into that frequency. I don't want to speculate too much. We're going to do a wrap up, so I'll
Yeah.
leave it there.
Yeah. So we aren't going to be back. It's a little bit, we're taking a break for the holiday as we're recording this on December 26th. We're going to get together, I think it's on January 6th, with our special guest, Daniel. And we're going to break down the season overall, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and questions we have for not only season 2, but the whole series as a whole. So I would love for anyone listening to send us an email with what questions you have that so we can put that on the record. And if they want to do that, how could they, Karen?
Are we going to do a rating?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I, gosh, I always am reluctant to give something a 10 because it's just, but I'm going to give it 9.5 ski lifts because wasn't it hilarious? That always keeps moving, and once they drop them, nope, we
It
don't
just
need to do it
stops.
anymore. Yeah, stops.
Sure.
So
No one else needs to go on
9.5
it.
ski lifts.
Yeah, I got to give it 9.5. I'll let you use atom bombs, Lou.
I'm not going to use that.
Okay, 9.5 atom bombs then.
Nice.
There you go. I'm going to give it 10 baby goats.
Meh.
Yay! Perfect.
This is a perfect episode. I can't think of anything to complain about.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, it is.
I
It's
agree.
very good. All right.
So
Karen,
with that,
if someone wants to reach us, how can they?
they can email us at jklmediareviews@gmail.com. I am at Aleveria, Aleveria on social media, and my blog is allestuff.com.
Lou?
You can, of course, reach us on this YouTube channel, which is JKL Media Reviews, where we're doing our Pluribus and the Expanse series reviews right now. And on my other YouTube channel, Lou's Reviews, you'll find my Stephen King as well as my writer interviews and our archived episodes of the entire Babylon 5 series, including the animated movie. And on Twitter and Blue Sky, you can find me at Lou W. Sytsma, Sytsma.
And I am at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter and X. And check out the year into Springsteen that's happening in a couple of days on New Year's Eve. And we will be back in January. Please go check out our discussions of Expanse. If you've never watched this series, this is a really wonderful series that you should check out. And if you are, join us for a rewatch, because we would love to hear some feedback from people that have seen the series versus Karen and I are both new and Lou's leading us through this. So, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope everyone is fine. Karen, Lou, as always, this is a joy spending time with you. I appreciate all you do in your friendship, and we'll be back in about a week. Bye.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And scene.
And that wraps up another episode of the JKL Media Podcast. Whether you're a longtime fan or just discovered the podcast, we hope today's conversation sparked some reflection, curiosity, or even a rewatch. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a little more joy in their life. You can find us on all major platforms. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep the story going.